off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5. Home to the Asian Oprah, number one talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, Streaker, and more. And this is a show about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, no K words, no Kanye talk, no T talk, nothing that's in the headlines, because I want to balance out all of the negative news with some positive news and positive series. You can tell it's Wednesday because it is Doctors in the House with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And you know that Wednesdays means we are going to talk about some fabulous things. Today's no exception. And we have a special guest in studio with us because we are celebrating Black History Month. Very, very important. And I am so glad that Dr. Tiffanie has someone who actually is not just pontificating. He's a fabulous professor emeritus of Africana Studies. He has real good information that we're going to share today. And Dr. Tiffanie, I'm going to let you introduce your special guest for the series.
Today we have a very, very special guest who is Professor Amen Rahh. He is my uncle who also helped to raise and rear me. He is one of 12 children from the fabulous West Side, Compton, California, and he hails from the illustrious California State University of Long Beach. He is a professor emeritus of Africana Studies as well as Social Studies. Professor Amen Rahh. He is also a social activist. Uncle, take it away.
Abani Gani, everyone. I just want to say how honored I am to be on this program. I want to thank Dr. Marissa and my niece, Dr. Tiffanie Tate, more, and for allowing me to come on and share some information with regards to the relevancy of us celebrating Black History Month in this challenging time where DEI is being challenged and where affirmative action and civil rights are being challenged. And so it's very important that it's very important to many people that we keep the struggle going to maintain a sense of love and appreciation of all human beings. All human beings have histories. The Chinese have a history, the Japanese have a history, the Europeans have a history, the Jewish people have a history, the Muslims have a history. Excuse me. So therefore, African people have a history. And their history is based on diaspora, meaning their history is dispersed because of various reasons, mostly because of the Holocaust of enslavement, where they were taken to very Caribbean islands and where it may be Europe, and where they were enslaved, and then they developed themselves from there. But we'll get into that. That's just where I want to start with.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. We're going to get to all of that and more. We do have a little exercise that we start with. I don't know if Dr. Tiffanie warned you or not, but it is a way that I like to help myself first and foremost, start the day in the most positive way. And it's a little good life habit that we do on the show. It also helps me reconnect with my co-hosts and find out what's been going on in the week by talking about what we're grateful for. So, taking a bite of our gratitude sandwich at breakfast, the top of the bun is things that we're grateful for outside of ourselves, and the bottom of the bun is things that we're grateful for inside of ourselves, or what do we like about ourselves, so that when we go to bed at night, we're thinking about what's good instead of who done me wrong, what I didn't finish, how, I'm not good enough, and all of that really takes a bite out of our ability to be happy. So we'd love for you to participate. We'll start with the top of the bun, which is, what are you grateful for, Dr. Tiffanie?
I am grateful that my cousin Dana is okay. She was hit by a drunk driver. Her vehicle was totaled, her airbags deployed, and she is banged up, but she is still in the land of the living. After he hit her, he fled the scene, and then he hit another driver. And I am grateful that she is still okay. And I think it is important, I'm going to do a little public service announcement, that people, when they drink, that they drive responsibly. And in the land that we have ride sharing, just don't drive. Pay for an Uber, pay for a Lyft. I don't own any stock in those companies. So just go ahead, either ride with a buddy, give them your keys, and just don't drive, because drinking and driving can risk someone's life.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. And at the same time, I'm grateful that she sounds like she's okay. So that's it. Yeah. And just don't drive responsible. If you're drinking, just don't drive, period.
Yes. Yeah.
So I am grateful that, gosh, this is like a super busy time and I made it through, which is Chinese New Year, Valentine's. I don't have to wear red anymore on purpose. Still have my red microphone. But I'm grateful that it's just been a beautiful time, as well as I celebrated 16 years not drinking. So that was also kind of cool. But this is my season of celebration, and I'm grateful for all of the love. And I finished my first 2 sets on stage for stand-up comedy, which is my newest little fun thing that I tried, and that went really well. So those are my gratitudes this morning. Professor Amen, what are you grateful for?
Well, I'm grateful for my family, the closeness of them, how we support each other, and how we've maintained close relationships throughout our family development and origin. And I'm just grateful that they are sticking with each other. I'm grateful for my wife, who's my caretaker while I'm going through some health challenges. And we've been together 50 years, and just 43 married, and 7 we courted each other. We held trial on each other, and we decided to tie the knot. And we've been together, no arguments, no fighting, no violence, no separation. And
what's her name?
Amen Rahh. Amen Rahh.
Well,
and so she's, she's just a jewel, along with my niece Tiffanie. I'm really grateful for her. She's the doctor, not only of the medical field, but she's our family doctor. We call on her all the time. To be able to call a medical doctor is a blessing. And I'm sure my parents, who didn't get an education no further than the 3rd grade and 6th grade, are as proud of all the siblings that have gone on to be professionals and get degrees and things. And so that's what I'm grateful for.
That's awesome. Yes, I also call her. And that's it for the top of the bun, the gratitudes. I want to give a little love to your wife. I love what you just said. And hashtag relationship goals. I'm still happily divorced and single. So we both, Dr. Tiffanie and I, are going to put that out there as what we want, right?
Yeah, and shout out to his wife. She's an excellent baker. She would bake me my birthday cakes when I was a kid. Her cakes are fabulous. Yes.
As good as Dr. Tiffany's cobbler?
Yes, I would say even better.
Oh, wow. Okay, I guess I'm up for that next next visit. Okay, let's go to the bottom of the button, which is, what do we like about ourselves? I grew up being told, do not toot your own horn, do not say what you're good at, you're not all that. And what happens is we start looking for love in all the wrong places and for approval in all the wrong places. So I want us to really affirm the goodness that we are and celebrate instead of being our own worst critic. So I'll start. I appreciate that I am creative and that I continue to get inspired. I have new ideas all the time, and I love that, and I appreciate that about myself. Dr. Tiffanie, what do you like about yourself?
I appreciate the fact that I can be patient. Recently, I've had some trolls on my Facebook page, and I have been patient with them. And people are like, just block them, just block them. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to block them because I know them and I'm going to be patient with them and I'm going to be understanding with them. So I appreciate that about myself. I'm going to take the time and educate them.
I do not have the P word in my vocabulary or dictionary, so I'll let you do that for me too. Professor Amen, what do you like about yourself?
Well, it's a good question. I appreciate your question. I like the person that I've become. My transformations from Watts, Compton, and street life into a life in which I share my wealth of experience and knowledge with others. And I like teaching. I like being an educator and one that contributes to the liberation of mental and cultural liberation of African people. I like that struggle, and I like the achievements and the accomplishments, and I like the people that I've met on the way, the professionals and just the regular people, the students and the young people that you were able to impress upon them, and they're able to impress upon you.
Beautiful. And that is a beautiful breakfast that you just had with us. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. I am encouraging you for the next 28 consecutive days to practice this good life habit, starting the day with gratitudes, ending the day with appreciation. And I promise that then you will sandwich your day in the most positive way. Thanks for joining us for breakfast. And now for the topic of the day. Everything is awesome. Dr. Tiffanie, why is Professor Amen here with us today?
Well, we are having Professor Amen Rahh here today to talk about Black history because this is Black History Month. And I think it's important to talk about the origins of Black History Month and why we celebrate it and why we will continue to celebrate it, whether or not it is approved or not approved. And I think it's important to recognize it and to discuss it and to learn about it because it wasn't necessarily taught in schools and it has already been erased from the history books. And it was never really in history books to begin with. So whether it is in history books or not in history books, it doesn't matter because the information is out there if you are willing to seek it. And he is willing to give you the tools to find it and to help equip you with that information. I was a Black Studies minor in college, so I was given those tools, and I grew up with him, and he would come to my high school and give us that information as well, because he's always been an educator in my family as well as in the school district.
Mm-hmm. Fabulous. Professor Ahmed, what
Yes.
is the number one most important thing that everyone should know about Black history? And in conjunction with that, what is the one thing that is the biggest mistake or a false known about Black history that if you could erase it as something that people associate, you would? So kind of like the balance thing.
Okay, appreciating your question if I understand it correctly. First of all, history, everybody and everything have a history. If you want to understand anything, you have to know its history. The more you know that person or that entity or that thing or subject or whatever you're studying, that's how you get a better understanding of it. It's a record of its existence. And so many times we don't, sometimes people take away your humanity by saying you have no history and that you are just a person that's supposed to be just savage, or a person that has not contributed to the best of the world, human contribution. So you look at your record, and your record is the best of what you've done as a people, and personalities, and inventions, creativity, and things of that nature. And so history is very, very fundamental. That's why it's required to get a college degree. You have to take at least 9 units of history. And then as lower division requirements. And then when you get into your BA, when you get in, even in high school, world history and all of that, because it's significant. And so for years, people have said that many African people, most African people, did not have a history, especially in this country. And even today, they're talking about not recognizing it on a federal level, which don't mean nothing, because the author of Negro History Week, Carter G. Woodson, who started it in February of 1926, February 26, 1926, he started it with Negro History Week. And the reason he did it is because he saw the demonization of African people worldwide that made them vulnerable for exploitation, discrimination, and just abuses, because people did not see them as a part of the human family or say that. So the whole purpose of history is to get your record out there, what you've accomplished, what you achieved, as you meet with the rest of the people on the cultural table of, you don't come to that table naked. You come and you show your contributions to make the world better and to make the world world a better and more peaceful and loving place. And that's a long part of the human family, because you have a record of humanity. Say the more history you have, the more humanity you have. And the other part of your question is, what do you regret? Well, I regret that there's racism on this planet, and I regret that some people, even today, in this day and age, have not got beyond that and saw us as all are humans, and that we're all people. We all do the same thing, and we all should be accepted as human beings and not demonized.
Yes, absolutely. I was born and grew up in Canada, and I didn't come to the States until after my first master's in college. And so I coming into America. There weren't a lot of Black families. Where I grew up, there's one Black family, one Indian family, one Japanese family, and one Chinese family, even though I knew you thought I was Swedish, but I'm actually Chinese. But when I came to the States, and so I didn't grow up with the history lessons that Americans did, so to speak. And I was kind of shocked to see the prevalent his story around. Yes, you all had that Civil War, which was about freeing the slaves in the South. You all had the the stories of the plantation, and sometimes we would talk about how the past, the lynching and things like that. And I was definitely like, oh my goodness, kind of a reaction to that. And then the whole Rockefeller and the blue blood, the Americans, and sort of become fewer. But the connection that was missing was that this country, the wealth of these blue blood, or the history of that wealth, was built on the backs of slaves in the South, and that wasn't part of any kind of connection and education until I educated myself by watching things like 13th, which I think everybody should watch, on why are there so many Black males being incarcerated. It's not because when you do the crime, you do the time. All of the stuff with George Floyd, all of the things with, the riots even before George Floyd. So, and all of these people who were killed, and the stories are buried. And the state of our nation is that, yeah, we have done some things, but we really haven't done a lot. We haven't done enough. And it irritates me to no end when people say, well, what about this group? And what about that group? And what about my group? And it's like, well, your group hasn't suffered. Not that it's a competition or anything, but the devaluing of certain American groups versus other groups is why we have to have an education, so that everybody understands exactly what happened. And I'll end it with, I went to Accra in Ghana, and it was just heartbreaking to be in the ports, the door of no return, to understand how these are not people from the European wanting a better place to live and coming to America. These are people who were forced against their will, had no will, to say, no, I don't want to go to America. So that, for me, is the biggest disservice, by saying there is no history here. So that's my view.
Imagine there was a story, so I can't say I created this, but there was a story that I watched, and a woman described it like this. Imagine playing a game of Monopoly, and you're having 400 rounds of Monopoly where you're going around the board, and you're not allowed to buy any property, and you're not allowed to collect $200, and you're not allowed anything for 400 rounds. And then all of a sudden, you're allowed a little something. And then when you get that something, they take it away from you. So when you have something, they burn down Black Wall Street and they burn down anything you have to let you know you can't have anything. We want to keep you in your proper place. We want to relegate you to a certain status. That's what happens in America to Black people, or has happened in America in the past. And that's what happened in America with affirmative action. At UC Santa Barbara, I was in a class 1 in 500 in the UC system. They complained because there was maybe 1 to 2% Black people in the UC system. So they repealed affirmative action. Okay. That's what happened when they repealed affirmative action. They repealed it because they felt that 2% of Black people was too much. And in my biology class, I was 1 in 500. And I graduated at the top of the class. I graduated with honors. And affirmative action just meant you got a seat at the table. It didn't mean that you graduated. You had to work your butt off. Well, so I think it's funny when they talk about meritocracy, because the main beneficiary of affirmative action was white women. And so affirmative action didn't mean that you were just given a degree. It meant you had to work your butt off. I am a military officer. I am a physician, and I had to work hard for everything that I earned. Nothing has ever been given to me. So I think it's hilarious at all of these arguments about meritocracy, and all of the appointments that Trump has made. None of those people deserve those. All those people have been pandering to him. So that's my 2 cents from the peanut gallery. Enough about politics, since we don't talk about
politics, Missy.
I know.
My co-host just
know.
broke the rule.
I broke the rules.
And
I
also want us both to stop talking, because I want the rest of the time for Professor Amen. I'm guilty too. I'm not pointing fingers, because but we're with you, and hopefully our comments are heartening to you, and this is why I wanted to have you on the show. So the rest of the time is yours.
Appreciating you, Dr. Marissa. First of all, let me just say this. And appreciate what both of you said, and both of you made excellent point. But Black history is African history also. They're interchangeable, and it don't begin in slavery, or with discrimination, or with privileges or civil rights or anything. The history is deep in human history. So you go back to prehistory, before there was even a record. And you find through anthropology and paleontology and excavation of fossils and artifacts that there was a civilization on the continent of Africa, and even in other places where African people lived and flourished way before the Holocaust of enslavement. They didn't go to Africa to get slaves. They went to Africa to get Africans, and they brought them over here and made them and forced them into enslavement. But that's not even regardless of all the trials and tribulations that many groups go through. I mean, the Asian people went through the Holocaust of nuclear weapons. The Native American lost it all. There are many people that have gone through tragedy. The question is, what do you do about it? And how do you achieve, even in spite of that? And that's what you tell your students. That's what you tell your students if you were tutoring people to be doctors. Regardless of what you're going through, you got to have the fortitude and the mentality to achieve. And recognizing African history demonstrates people achieving, not only throughout ancient history, prehistory, with regards to invention, creativity, civilization, socialization, artifact, philosophy, ideologies, and made contributions with personalities It's written in the pyramid text, the coffin text is written in Piper's papers of significant contributions of people on the continent of Africa, referred to as Alkebulians or the Egyptians or Ethiopians or whatever, that they made a major contribution to family life by matriarchal systems, that women created the first social entity on the continent of Africa, which was called matriarchal systems. They became the first architecture, building thatch huts and things of this nature, as well as the first doctors in medicine on the continent that healed and things of this nature. So we focus on our achievements in spite of the challenges that we went through. The struggle for fairness and equality is going to be one as long as other humans abuse other humans. And they don't just abuse African people, they abuse themselves sometimes, those in power. But the point is that we have a resilient history of achieving. Even during the Holocaust of enslavement, we invented, created things, we coped until we could get out. It was forever. But we prayed, we worked, and we studied. And so you had one that became a president. You had a woman that became a nominee for president. You have of this country. But we had kings and queens on the continent that people don't know about. We have rulers, presidents, all in Europe. We have significant political representatives all over the world. So, that history is important to young people, young African people, rather than be beat down with the George Floyds and things of this nature. And you recognize that and you fight against that. I ain't saying you don't stand up for justice and humanity for all people. If you see a child abuse, that could have been a white person that choked out in Minneapolis, wherever they were. And you would feel bad to see a policeman choking them out. It didn't matter if it was George Floyd or not. It's just that there's been too many George Floyds and things of this nature in which justice didn't happen. But the people struggled against it. And the people let the country know that that wasn't right and that they need to stop it. Are they going to stop it? That's up to them. But the point is that people continue to struggle and continue to achieve, continue to live a good life. As you, Dr. Marissa, your history as an Asian people, I mean, you had a cultural revolution in China. You had a cultural, look at Japan, one of the most richest and cultural artifacts of the world. People will always want to go there. Look at Vietnam, how it came from napalm and the bombs and rose from ashes into a flourishing area now. So everyone has a history of struggle and challenges. The European came out the caves. You understand? The Iceman, Wolfman, and Caveman, and maybe some of them don't practice the humanity that others practice, but we got to keep pushing and be the best that we can be. Yeah. And as Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. And when they talk about what they do to us, we always talk about what we do for ourselves, our family, our community, and our nation. And so we have plenty of people that have won Nobel Peace Prizes that are African. Look what Nelson Mandela did. Went to prison 26 years without a trial, and then come out and become president of the country that sent him to prison. Those are some stories and histories that the kids need to know. That resilience, fortitude. I think you said it in the beginning, Dr. Marissa. You got to keep on pushing. Got to be strong, and don't let people depress you by saying what they did to you and what they did to you, this and that. Yeah, we take that under consideration, but that's not. Look, what did you do for yourself? You understand? There are abuses all over the world. What they're doing to Cuba, what they're doing to Hamas, and what they're doing to Ukraine and wars. You'd think today that there wouldn't be no wars and people would be fighting against it. But There's money in it, and there's business in it.
Yeah.
And even though you don't want to talk politics, hey, it's here. It's effective. Matter of fact, they can cut this show off if Trump get mad. Say we don't want no more podcasts. That's not. But the point is that having a positive attitude, a joyous attitude, and feel good about yourself, and that's what history is supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Not depress you and take away your aspirations, in spite of the challenges we go through.
Absolutely.
We keep on pushing.
Great. That was a lot to embrace. I hear a lot of balance. We need to take a quick break to have news, weather, and traffic, but don't go away. And a word from our sponsor. So Chuck Woolery used to say, we'll be back in 2 and 2. It won't be that long, but it's peace in, peace out. Don't go away. We will be right back with Professor Amen Rahh and celebrating Black History Month. Don't go away.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tiffanie Tate, and I would like you to take a look at the books that I have offered for you. My first book is Money Matters, and you can pick it up on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or my website. This book addresses saving, tithing, as well as investing. It is about 3 brothers who find a $100 bill on the way home, and their mother teaches them all about what to do with it. You can visit my website at www.drtiffanie.com. My next book is Bad Touching. It teaches children about good touching and bad touching and how to speak up and protect themselves. The next book is Little Engine Mia Sings. It is available as an audiobook as well as a paperback. It is a story about a little engine Mia who gets bullied on the playground. And you don't want to miss this story because any child should learn how to protect themselves. You definitely want to pick up these books for a child near you today. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, NBC Sports Radio Station, home to the Asian Oprah, #1 talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, all 1,338 shows are on my YouTube TV channel. Hit that subscribe, free subscribe, and give us the finger. Not that finger, but this finger. And I'm so delighted today that we are celebrating Black History Month, and it is Doctors in the House because it's Wednesday with myself and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And a very special guest with us this morning is her uncle, who's also Professor Amen Rahh. He's the Professor Emeritus of Africana Studies. I love that, saying that word like the Africana. And he's here to educate us about Black History Month. Welcome back to the studio, Dr. Amen. So you were talking before the break about the richness of African history, and I would love to hear some of that because the balance is not to always just talk about George Floyd and all the ways in which, things are not equal. But I think the richness and balancing is the positive things about the history of the Black in America is a wonderful thing to hear about.
Yeah, I appreciate what you asked, if I understand correctly. And again, I want to thank you and Tiffanie for having me on the show. You know, all groups of people have rich histories and contribution to the forward flow of human civilization. And in order for you, if you want them to respect your history, you have to respect theirs. And that's what you call a mutual admiration, appreciation, and reciprocal type of a gesture. And by accepting their history, you're accepting the best of them as a people, as human beings, and their contribution to make life better where they are and where you are. So the challenge is that understanding history, Black history came about again with Carter G. Woodson with Negro History Week. And he thought that was important because he thought that the more he could bring out the contributions and achievements of African people, that they would be more recognized as humans and respected as people in a country that had demonized and devalued them as human beings. And so he rigorously studied and worked, and he started Negro History Week. And then in the 60s, after the rebellions and the civil rights movement, there was two liberation movements, civil rights and Black Power. Black Power, some people thought that means like getting a nuclear bomb or something, but what it meant was to empower yourself, to be a better person, and to open up businesses and to do things to achieve in the society, become competitive for the social, economical, and educational space in this country, and achieve in it. And so so after that rebellion of the 60s, we studied and we found out that African history was too big for a week. In the Black Power movement, people went from Negro to Black. And so so that's why Black History Month came about. Not all people have months, not that they didn't have some in the past, but they're recognizing and putting them forward better, more. Women's Month is in March. You have elderly months. You have gay months. You have everybody have one because we push for Black History Month. And sometimes it's for celebrations, parades, and just bringing out the road that we've had in America. But our history is way further than way before there was an America, way before there was a Europe, and way before there was Israel. And so, but we are part of all that history. And so we look at it in this relevancy is what you learn from, you get life lessons from history. What's good and what's bad. You take the good and the footprints and the blueprints of other achievements and you follow them. That's important. That's one. Second, and then you look at the mistakes and you try not to make the mistakes of the past. And then you also get identity. Once you know who you are, you don't make no difference where you are. Mm-hmm. You understand? I mean, you be proud and you're a human being. And you recognize and appreciate all human beings. If they choose to be human. You got to recognize some people don't. Some people want to rule the world while others want to live in it in harmony. And you got to deal with that balance. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, to not study your history is like a tree not having roots. You got to grow. You understand? And there's so many historians that have put forth history and written it down and went to travel and brought back artifacts and various forms of scientific inventions and things of this nature. it's just a beautiful thing to love life and appreciate life, and that's what history do.
Mm-hmm.
You date someone, you want to know their history. You better know their history. And,
We don't want to go there.
you want to know their history because
What
you
are
don't. Go ahead.
what are some things that um uh, maybe are not disseminated as knowledge for Black History Month that should be?
Well, I think the humanity of the role of first of all, the role of the African woman and the role of young people in the struggle for liberation and development, and their contributions as young people to go through school and in the worst of times that they face. Sometimes, like we say, the first person that got their degree got it from a person that didn't have it. So you think about the common sense and the intelligence that many of our parents had to make it through life without a formal education. And now that you have a formal education, you mesh it with, integrate it with life experiences. And that's how I grew up. I grew up in Washington, Compton. I was a straight street brother. You understand? I never thought I'd be a professor. You know, we had to do all kinds of things to make it because we were very poor. And we hustled and we did what we had to do.
Yes.
But you go through
Kudos to
transformation. You
Yeah,
go through
kudos.
transformation. Now
Kudos.
you raise your kids, provide for them the knowledge, the importance of where you are and the rules of where you are.
Right.
In this country, they like credentials and they like degrees, they like skills, and you become a valuable entity.
Mm-hmm.
And so you push that with the young people. And that's the critical aspect of it. But history gives you that. And it's a beautiful thing because, as I said, how can you leave out the humanity of another people by saying they have no history?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to pull this up because this is one of the things that people do focus on is attributing, one of the things I tried to do as a motivational speaker when I became more wise about diversity is instead of always quoting dead white men, I wanted to put in people who were colorful and their contributions as well. And I think that's a wonderful thing that happens during Black History Month is, recognizing people, right? So who would you add to this list that isn't there that you think should be? So we've got Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Barack Obama, W.E.B. Du Bois. That's the one name I don't know. And Frederick Douglass, you mentioned, was the first person who actually put the Negro Week, right, on the map.
No, it was Carter G. Woodson.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I got to do more studying. But who else would belong here? So to speak?
I think there are entree of people. Dr. Maulana Karenga, who created Kwanzaa, and the Nguzo Saba and Kiapo, that's a pledge, and also 7 principles of values system called Nguzo Saba, unity, umoja, kujichagulia, self-determination, ujima, collective work and responsibility, ujima, collective, cooperative economic, nia, purpose, kumba, creativity, and imani, faith. Those are principles that I thought were the other. I think Mary McLeod Bethune, who started the first college, Bethune, as a woman in Daytona, Florida, where she built the first HBCU, or one of the first HBCUs, and she did it with nothing. and she started with nothing. I think that there are so many people and personalities that have made outstanding contributions. Our scholars have written books. Our scientists, William Hale, Morgan, who created the red light, green light, uh, uh, Lattimore, who created the filament that go in the light every time you cut your light on, and why it stay on, it was because of Lattimore. There are so many inventions and so many individuals that made sacrifices for us to build upon and grasp from and use as a role models to emulate.
Yes.
George Washington Carver, the great agriculturalist.
Yes. So, and he not only created with the peanut, but he also did it with the potato. He once said that if you treat nature nice, it'll talk back to you. And that was just a beautiful saying of his. One of the greatest agriculturists in history, Carter G. Woodson, a scientist that really did a lot. And their brother that created the potato chip.
Really?
I can go on. Yeah, the Saratoga chip. I got my books back here. I have to put his name up, but it's just a contributions that people made. I mean, other people were making contributions too. The world. I mean, you go. What do you think? China. People talking about I got China dishes. All of that. Artifacts, the Native American, the totem pole. All of those things are beautiful. That's what makes the world beautiful.
Yes.
Creativity and diversity.
Charles Drew.
Yeah, Charles Drew blood plasma. And, create, I mean, without that, you wouldn't have the type of transfusions that you have today. You understand? William Hale, the first open heart surgery performed. You can go on and on, but others have done great things too, and you recognize that. You learn from each other. You learn the good and the bad from each other.
Absolutely. I found the potato chip. I think that's cool. George Crumb. Yeah. So it's balance, it's celebrating, it's looking at the good, it's looking at diversity as being, a positive thing instead of a negative thing. We're running into the last part of the show.
One last name you should put down is Henrietta Lacks.
Who?
She is one of the women who is a very unsung hero for cancer cell research. Yes, you should put her there. Everyone should know her name.
That's great. Professor Amen, what do you want us to remember and hold up and communicate and celebrate for Black History Month?
That we should always work toward world peace, eradicate world hunger, eradicate as much as we can diseases, and teach people. Carter G. Woodson wrote a book, The Miseducation of the Negro, and most of us are miseducated because we should have had a more thorough curriculum, not a commercial curriculum and a labor or professional curriculum, but a human curriculum that teaches us humanity, the importance of nutrition and health at an earlier age. Our parents just fed us, they contributed, you got more people eating fast food ever before in history. And you have more heart attacks and more young people sick than ever before in history. The salt and sugar addiction. Those are the type of things that I think that we need to start focusing on. Not just this, that scientific medicine is fine, but human discipline, human courage, human love. I grew up fighting and stuff, but I taught my kids not to fight. And if you have any problems, come to me first. Don't try to settle them yourself because you're too young. And then don't run toward problems, run away. If you see somebody fighting, don't go and see who won. Try to encourage, if you know them, encourage them to stop or get out the way. I mean, you have to become more ethical and more principled. And I think that's the most important thing we can get from history, how to be more ethical and principled toward each other.
Fantastic. Dr. Tiffanie, your final word?
My final word is each one teach one so we can all reach some, because we are all responsible, because Black history is American history, because we are all living here together.
My final word is let's balance out all the problems with solution and focusing on the solution. You cannot have peace and confusion at the same time. So let's look at the peace. And that's me giving you a piece of my mind. Final word, Professor.
Yeah. African Black history is about racial history. That's why they call it Black history. Most Black people don't see themselves as Black. They just see themselves as human. The word hue means color. You're just part of the human family. The most important thing is that we realize that Africana studies of Black history and all of that is a part of the human family, not just America, part of the human family of all humans, and respect. Teach those things, how to respect yourself and others, be appreciative of life. Always be ready to defend yourself, defend your life. Oh, you got to do that. But at the same time, be loving and caring. Never stop hugging and kissing your children. No matter how old they get. Always make sure they love you more than they love outside things, drugs, alcohol, and love you with the best of their love for others. And that's important, because most people, as your kids get older, you get distant. Stay close. Stay close, stay close, stay close. That's my word.
Fantastic. Well, it's been just fabulous having you here. Thank you so much for all that you represent, all that you do, and all that you know and share. I do this at the end of every show. If you would put your peace sign up, it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. Thank you again, Dr. Amen, for coming on. Thank you, Dr. Tiffanie Tate. This has been another Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate
on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa. We'll see you tomorrow.